Hi, this is Keith with How to Build Your Own Home. I want to talk about red flags when it comes to subcontractor bids. And these are things you want to look for, spot, and if you spot one or two of these red flags, you know you've got a problem right away. My channel's growing. I'm getting a lot of feedback. A lot of students are sharing information. I either go to my professional site or they find me on How to Build Your Own Home site and they message me there. So I'm getting a lot of feedback. And here's what's happening. Some red flags I want you to keep aware of. The number one red flag on a bid that you get from a subcontractor is, there's like 7 of them here, but they're not necessarily prioritized, but we'll just start with the top here. They text you the bid. They just say, I can do that for XYZ dollars. That's it. That's a red flag. That means that they're not sophisticated enough to take the time to care about the back end of their business, how they're communicating on their business and how they're presenting themselves in a professional manner. So be very, very wary of that. Now, that's not always the case. I have a framer that does that to me. That's because I helped him get out from underneath another general contractor, and he's on his own. He's got his own insurance. He's got his own liability, and he's a great framer, but he always just texts me my bid. Now, that's not always the case, but sometimes, a lot of times, if they just text you something, you've got a problem. Now, with this framer, I can make him do all these extra things because I said to him back in the text, okay, do this for this amount and include all these things. So I have to include things, and I have to get clarity in the back and forth communication with him. We'll talk about that in just a second here. A bid's in email with no attachment. So they give you a bid and it's kind of in the email, but there's no attachment. Again, there's no back-end organizational structure. Their business operations are lacking, they're deficient. If you're giving a bid that can be in excess of $10,000 or $15,000, and sometimes $50,000 or $80,000 for some subcontractors, they should take the time to make sure that there's detail, and it should all be in either in a QuickBooks file or a PDF file or some sort of a file that is sent to you that you can open up. Okay. Next one here. It's not itemized and line item cost defined, meaning they just give you a bottom line number, which I can understand on some bids, but a lot of the times it's really helpful for you as an owner builder to look at a bid and you say, okay, this costs this much, and this costs this much, and this costs this much, and you can ask for that bid. And if they don't give you that and it's just a bottom line number, it's really hard for you to parse things out. It's really hard for you to say, okay, I want all this except this and this. So the more that they can line item costs, the better. All my subcontractors do that now, and I ask them to do that. Please give me the number for the materials. Please give me a number for the labor. Please give me a number for overhead and office and whatever other costs you have associated with that. That helps you out knowing what the cost is on things, okay? Because if another bid comes in and they have a double the amount of on the labor, the double the amount on material costs, you know there's some discrepancies. So the more they can line item stuff and give actual defined costs on everything, the better. If they don't give any of that, then you got kind of a problem there. If they give you a voicemail bid, hey Keith, I got your email for bid. I can do that for this, and they leave it on a voicemail. Again, if they don't care about their business operations and how well they organize themselves, they're not going to care about your product. They're not going to care about your home. So notice how well they keep records, or how well they express themselves in their business. That's going to be a reflection on your home that they're going to think that they're going to do some work on. Okay. This is a big one. No scope of work description, meaning that they don't describe the scope of work. Now, that's part of your responsibility. In my program at How to Build Your Own Home, I have a downloadable form where you can send off plans, and then you cut and paste your framing, your concrete, etc. And you say, here's the scope of work I want you to bid. Now, that comes with that comes the plans, the architectural, the structural plans they need to bid according to that scope of work. But sometimes it's nice to have a bullet list of things that you really want to focus on as a scope of work. Now, if you don't do that at all, and it's not shown up on their bid, again, it's a lack of care in communication. It's a lack of presenting their bid effectively. So you want them to describe the scope of work. We will do this, and we will do this, and we'll supply that, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they kind of give a description of that. And that can be on each line item, or it can be a full second whole page. I've got a framer who gave me a bid, and it's line itemed, and he has a second page that I have to sign that gives the scope of work. And in that scope of work is one more thing: exclusions, meaning that we don't include this, or we don't include that, or we don't include that. They exclude certain things on there. They're really going through the entire bid process, and they're making sure they're having their exclusions and the things that they don't typically offer. For example, I had an excavator who did a job on a home, and every excavator that I've worked with over the years would do finish grade. They would come and polish it off and clean it up. Well, he didn't even put that in his bid, and it was an assumption on my part, because I've worked with so many different excavators, that they would clean up their mess. Well, he didn't clean up his mess. I had to go up there and on a job and clean up the mess for him. And so it was my bad, because I didn't identify that. It was kind of a common practice. Like in my area, framers typically supply their own nails. All right, it's part of their bid. The reason for that is because they don't want to have to call me, hey, I'm short on nails, can you get me some nails? And that can slow up their process. So they include all the nails in their bid. In some areas, it's different. They don't pay for any kind of materials at all. It's just straight up labor. Next one here is options available. A really good business operator will say, here are some additional options that I can add to that bid if you want it. A painter may add an option for 3-tone paint, or 2-tone paint, or different types of paint. Here's some additional options you may want. If you want the garage done, we can do the garage. If you want the exterior done, we can do the exterior. If you want the doors done, we can paint the doors. Or if they come already stain grade, we can do stain grade. Whatever it may be, they give you these options. That means they've been in business for a long time, and they take care in presenting to you options that you have in the build of your home. Okay. And then one of the big ones for me is there's no prompt communication. I'm always trying to communicate with clients. I've got a bid I've got to get out to a client right now, and I've sent them an email on it. I told them I'm working on it. It's been really difficult because there's some complexity in the design of the home, and half of the home is really in a culvert. It's in a ravine. I've got to fix that. I've got to get retaining issues solved, and so it's really a slow process for me. But I let them know that I'm working on it, and I'm communicating with them. And if they're not communicating and they get a bid way late in the game, or you have to hound them for a bid, that's not good either. A really good subcontractor will say to you, Keith, I'd love to give you a bid, but I'm like 2 months out, or I'm way far out. I won't be able to get this to you right away. Do you need this bid right away? Yes, I do. I'm just so booked I can't get that to you right away. If a subcontractor communicates like that, that's really a good sign that they have care in what they do. What you want to do is look for a person who takes care of their business. They're concerned with their business and how they operate their business. That is probably the number one thing you want to look for. And why is that important? Because I got an email from a student. I won't mention the student's name, but the student mentioned that they had hired a general contractor, and everybody in the community thought this general contractor was just top-notch and wonderful. But a student of mine came to find out that this general contractor is a little bit narcissistic, and when they started to actually engage in contract and engage in a work for hire type of stuff, it was a different story. He would never get anything done. He was never following through. All this communication was just terrible. And what you're going to find is the best way to find out is if that person actually takes care of how they present themselves. I actually wrote, let me show you here. I wrote a book on this subject many, many years ago called Fake Optimists. I don't know if you can read that. Fake Optimists, the 3 people to fire and the 3 people to hire. This is on Amazon. I do suggest you getting this. It really helps you understand personality traits in the business world, personality traits in how they conduct and engage in contract. It's really, really helpful. It helps you understand and find those people that actually care about you, care about themselves, and how they engage in that contract. Now, I've mentioned this several times on some posts, that the Founding Fathers originally were hoping that we would build a nation where we would learn to read, write, and engage in contract with ethics and honesty. Then we just dumbed it down to read, write, and arithmetic. All right. You don't need a subcontractor who can do basic arithmetic. You need a contractor, a subcontractor who knows how to engage in contract. And that means that they've got itemized bids. They've got exclusions. They've got inclusions. They've got prompt communication. They don't just give you a voicemail bid or a text bid. They give you an actual detailed PDF, an actual file that you can actually print or download and put into your bid folder. And they also give you an actual concern in how they hand this bid off to you. For example, if I had a contract I had to send to a client, and I called her and I says, "Hey, this is Keith. I just want to let you know I sent the contract off this morning. You got that. If you have any questions, you're welcome to just let me know, and I can meet up with you anytime." So there's that concern with communication, and how well they communicate, how well they present themselves. These are the things you want to look for, and watch for those red flags. They're notorious. I hope this helps you out. This has been something I've been wanting to communicate. And maybe down the road we can do a post on actually showing you really, really bad bids and really, really good bids. That's going to be a really helpful thing, and try to spot those. I actually want to put some of that into my program, showing them 5 different bids in 5 different categories, and 5 good bids in 5 the same categories. And so you can see a comparison. A lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I want to add to the whole program. But if you're just starting, you're owner or builder, check out my site at howtobuildyourownhome.com. A lot of students keep asking me, where should I start? How should I start? I have a First Steps course, and it's only $49. It's a 13-module course with video instruction and downloadable PDF files on every module that you go through. And the 3rd module is the most important. That's going to really help you identify where you are, what the real cost per square footage, and how to determine the real cost per square foot. You can find that information out yourself. You don't need to ask a general contractor what the cost per square foot is. You can figure that out all on your own without ever talking to a general contractor. It's in the module 3 of the First Steps course. If you once you do it once or twice or 3 times, you'll really get a cross section of the real cost per square foot in your area to build a particular home. So this is Keith with How to Build Your Home. I know that this is something important. Watch it again if you need to. I hope you took notes. Watch out for the red flags on bids.